Hi there! Most of the times you will need a way to store and access values that describe a single aspect or feature of the collected data. A vector is a one-dimensional data structure in R that you can use to do that. By one-dimensional, I mean that its members are of the same type and represent a single feature, for instance, the response time measurements of a single experiment, the recorded first language of a set of students, as in the vector GLC_L1 of the GLC.sample package that we will see in a minute, or even responses to a single questionnaire item. In this and the next couple of videos, you will learn how to explore and handle character vectors, namely vectors whose members, sure enough, are of character type. After watching this video, you will be able to use R code for getting the length of a character vector, for obtaining its first or last n items, and also for extracting its unique elements. Let's jump directly on GLC_L1, a character vector included in the GLC.sample package that reports the first language, or L1, of a sample of 100 students whose written productions were recorded during the compilation of the Greek learner corpus. For more information on the package and the Greek learner corpus, visit the earlier video in this playlist. Recall from the previous video that before using any of the data of an externally installed R package, such as the GLC_L1 vector, you need to load the GLC.sample package that contains it. That means you need to use the library function. Now, you can choose to either display the content of the GLC_L1 vector on the console by calling its name, as I just did here, or to display it separately on the upper left RStudio panel with the view function. As you can see, most of the L1 entries of the vector are Albanian. This is interesting to observe as the collected data come from Greece, its neighbor country. Moreover, soon you will see that you will be able to quantify this intuitive first observation. The first you're going to want to know when you have a character vector is to check its length, namely the number of elements it contains. This will reveal whether all the recorded values have also been included in the vector. You can achieve this with the length function. Here, as expected, the length of the vector is 100 since the number of students is 100. Getting an overview of a vector can be done with the head function. This function takes a vector as its argument and outputs its first 6 entries by default. For those who wonder what an argument is, just look at what inside the parentheses that follow the name of a function is. If a function has more than one argument, these must be separated by a comma. The function head requires at least one argument, the vector or the variable that represents it, GLC_L1 in our case, but can also take optional arguments that enhance its functionality. Here I use an extra numeric argument, it is 25, that will overcome the number 6 that by default is defined when no second additional argument is added. In other words, as you can see, R returns the first 25 entries of GLC_L1. The function tail returns the last 6 entries, and as with head, if you enter the number 25 as an additional argument, the last 25 entries will be returned. In a vector with various language profiles, such as GLC_L1, you might also simply want to get a first feeling of the variability of the data. In our case, the variability translates to the number of distinct recorded L1s. In a vector with 100 pretty recurrent L1s, it is not so hard to monitor the different languages, although not very easy either. However, imagine if you had a vector with entries of greater variability and much bigger in size. For simply getting the different languages of a vector, you can use the unique function. What unique does is that it eliminates duplicate elements from a vector that is given as its argument and returns a new vector that keeps only one of each type, let's say. So, the resulting vector includes the 9 languages that appear in GLC_L1 one time or more. Notice that there is also an NA entry, which means that there are some missing data for at least one of the 100 students. In other words, for some of the students, the L1 has not been recorded, and there can be many external reasons for this to have happened. You will see how to handle this type of data in a later video. The vector is as diverse as including languages such as Punjabi, Arabic, Romanian, Bulgarian, and Georgian, among others. Wrapping up on the code of this short tutorial, you learn to ask for the length of a character vector with the length function, to browse through its first and last n items with the head and tail functions correspondingly, and to remove duplicate entries with a unique function so that you can have a first insight of the variability of the data. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel by pressing the relevant button on the video or on channel's homepage, and then, in order to get updates when new videos are released, you need to activate the bell notification that stands on channel's homepage.